Hello and welcome to The Caregiver's Daughter. I'm your host, Danielle. There's a kind of grief that no one really prepares you for. It doesn't come with a funeral. It doesn't come with casseroles or sympathy cards. It just comes quietly with your loved one that's still here. So my grandmother's in the hospital right now. She's taking a little spell there, as I like to say it. And honestly, I'm not even sure what's wrong with her. I don't want to invade her privacy by trying to explain too much about it, but what I do understand is that visiting her has changed. What used to feel like joyful, easy, light, familiar, moments, it sometimes now feels heavy, even difficult to do. Sometimes it feels like an obligation. Saying that out loud makes me feel guilty because I know deep down she's grateful for the visits. But I can also see it clearly that she's far from the person I was raised by. She's no longer that fun grandmother who let me drive her car when I was 12 years old in a parking lot. She's no longer the woman who loved when I would paint her staircase outside bright red every spring. She was a lot of fun. She didn't take life too seriously. Some of my very best childhood memories center around her. So as an adult now, seeing that our relationship has shifted in some ways, I've been a caregiver to her. In other ways, I've simply just watched her being cared for by others. I mean, this transition from being a child to being an adult, enjoying adult relationships, to somewhere along the way, just kind of quietly crossing into caregiving, it's like one of the hardest emotional shifts there is. The love never changes. It doesn't go anywhere, but the relationship, it does. And no one can fully warn you what it feels like to watch someone you love get older, to watch their personality soften or fade or fracture after one medical experience and then another. My grandmother was a caregiver her entire life in one form or another, and I've worked with so many clients whose aging looked different, where the relationship with their children and grandchildren evolved gently, not so drastically. And then there are families like ours where change comes fast and hard and without permission. And that's hard to swallow. You grieve this relationship taking shape in ways that you never wished that it would. And then you feel guilty for grieving at all. I should just simply be thankful that she's still here with me. I've tried to control it, pretend like nothing has changed. Maybe I'm just afraid that she'll feel it too. We never really had that conversation together, but you can't help but wonder, does she know? Today I had the opportunity to tell my grandmother something really important. I told her she has been an inspiration to me, that I know she had a hard childhood, but she made sure that we didn't. And she accomplished more than those who were unkind to her as a child could have ever imagined. It was a really nice moment. I saw tears in her eyes, and she said very simply, "My life wasn't all bad. I really did enjoy yard sales. I enjoyed helping poor people. But mostly I love my grandchildren. I love my time with them." And she just kind of faded off into words that were hard to understand, hard to watch. But for a brief moment, she was there and it mattered. So during that visit, 2 nurses come in to help her use the restroom, something I am fully qualified to help with. But in that moment, I stepped back. I let others take charge. When I came back, my grandmother was sitting upright and she's like, "I know if you hadn't stepped out, you would have wanted to control the situation and boss the nurses around." And I'm not sure if that's actually true, but I was glad she still saw me as a caregiver, because caregiving isn't defined by a 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift. It's defined by moments, by noticing needs, by how we respond to them. So while I'm not her full-time caregiver, I will call myself, a caregiver of hers, as I see so many others that have stepped forward to be that for her. If you're someone who can't walk past another human being who needs help, you're probably a caregiver too. And if you're someone who does those small unseen things to make someone else's life easier or brighter, you are probably a caregiver. When I worked in HR at AllMed, I used to be surprised by how many applicants said, "I just want to be a companion. And if you've done this work, you know what that usually means. I don't want help with the restroom. I don't want to give a shower. Please don't make me deal with accidents." And at first, it rubbed me the wrong way. But caregiving and experience changed me. I met a woman in her 70s who said, "If I can just sit with someone, maybe I can make a difference." I met caregivers who couldn't lift but never missed a shift and poured their hearts into what they could do. I watched a field caregiver move into a supervisory role here at AllMed and fight relentlessly for both clients and staff. She no longer gives showers, but she gives care. And my mindset shifted from judgment to gratitude because caregiving comes in many forms. So if you're facing a loved one who is changing and you're grieving who they were while still loving who they are, please hear this. Your care still matters, even when it looks different, even when it hurts. Standing in the hallway with someone, the nurses or the front desk people, while others are walking in and helping my grandmother to the restroom, that is still care. Loving her through change, that's care. And every time I visit her, I remind myself the relationship might have changed, the role might shift, but the love doesn't go anywhere. And once you're a caregiver, that heart never leaves you. Thanks for joining me today.